The summer we went viral. In the heart of the sprawling city of Maple Grove, where skyscrapers brushed against the sky and neon lights lit up the streets at night, three friends, Jaden, Zara, and Luis, were counting down the days until summer break. For kids growing up in a city as big as Maple Grove, excitement was never hard to find. From trendy cafés to towering malls, there was always something new to do. And for these three, the city itself felt like their personal playground. Jaden, 13, was the tech genius of the group. He lived in a small, cozy apartment with his older brother Nate, who was in college. Their parents worked overseas, so Nate was pretty much in charge of everything. Jaden looked up to him. Nate was calm, collected, and somehow always seemed to know what to do. Their apartment was packed with gadgets, laptops, and cameras that Jaden would borrow for his social media projects, though Nate always made him promise to be careful with his stuff. Zara, 12, was known for her sense of style and her loud, contagious laugh. She lived with her mom and her grandparents in a high-rise on the other side of town. Zara's mom was a nurse, working long shifts, but she always made time to check in on Zara, and Zara adored her grandma, who taught her how to sew her own clothes. Zara's grandpa was an artist, and his paintings decorated every wall of their apartment. They lived on the 17th floor, and from her window, Zara could see the entire city stretching out before her, glittering at night like 1,000 stars. Luis, 13, was the most energetic of the group, and everyone loved his sense of humor. He was always the first to try out new trends on social media and would drag his friends along to capture whatever wild idea he'd thought up. Luis lived with his mom, who worked at a bakery nearby, and his grandparents. His grandma cooked amazing meals that the whole neighborhood would envy, and his grandpa, once a mechanic, had taught him how to build and fix things. Their home always smelled of fresh bread and coffee, and Luis was proud of his family's warm, bustling apartment. It was the start of summer, and the trio had one big goal: go viral on social media. They dreamed of being city famous, of people recognizing them in the streets, and of getting thousands of followers. They'd been talking about it for weeks, brainstorming wild ideas and scrolling through other viral accounts for inspiration. They finally came up with a plan. They'd create a series of videos exploring hidden parts of the city, places only locals knew about, and make each one more exciting than the last. Their first stop was an old, forgotten mural on the side of a crumbling brick building near Zara's neighborhood. The mural was a masterpiece, full of vivid colors and images of the city's history, neighborhoods, famous faces, and iconic landmarks. Jaden brought his camera, and Zara used her grandpa's old art supplies to paint their group name, the Maple Kids, at the edge of the mural. They took pictures and filmed a video where they talked about the mural's history. Zara's eyes bright with pride as she spoke about her neighborhood. When they posted the video, they watched in awe as the likes and comments poured in. The thrill was electric. People were tagging their friends saying, "Did you know this was here?" And Maple Kids are bringing the city to life. Their video had hit over 1,000 views by the next morning. The next week, they planned their next adventure, an abandoned subway station that Luis had heard about from his grandpa. They snuck in through a rusty gate, their laughter echoing through the empty tunnels. They filmed each other exploring the graffiti-covered walls, pretending to discover mysterious old objects they found lying around. Luis made up wild stories for the camera about the station being haunted, making Zara scream and laugh at the same time. As they explored, they noticed a faint light coming from one of the tunnels. They followed it, nervously giggling, until they reached an open door. Inside, they found an old maintenance room, dusty and filled with forgotten tools. It felt like they'd stepped into a secret world. They filmed it all, feeling like urban explorers on a mission. That video blew up even more than the first one. They got thousands of new followers, and people started sharing their videos with hashtags like #MapleKids and #Hidden City. Their classmates started calling them city celebrities, and people on the street began to recognize them. But one evening, as they were planning their next video, Jaden's brother Nate pulled him aside. "Hey, Jaden," he said, looking serious. "You guys are doing great, but remember, the internet never forgets. Make sure whatever you're putting out there is something you won't regret." Jaden nodded, but he was too excited to think much of it. He had ideas, and people loved them. That was what mattered. For their biggest adventure yet, they decided to explore an old rooftop garden in a skyscraper downtown. They'd heard rumors that the garden was filled with flowers and plants that hadn't been touched in years, and Louise swore it was like a secret jungle. They snuck in one evening, careful to avoid the security guards, and made their way up 30 flights of stairs. When they reached the rooftop, they were breathless, not just from the climb, but from the view. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the city, and around them were overgrown plants, blooming flowers, and even a little pond with lily pads. It was like a hidden paradise in the middle of the concrete jungle. They took photos, filmed themselves wandering through the plants, and even danced as the sun sank below the horizon. But just as they were finishing up, they heard a voice behind them. "Excuse me, what are you kids doing here?" It was a security guard, looking stern but slightly amused. Zara panicked, but Jaden stepped forward, explaining their project and how they wanted to show people the city's hidden beauty. The guard looked at them for a long moment, then sighed. "Next time, just ask for permission. You kids are pretty lucky I'm the one who found you." That night, they posted their final video of the summer, showing the rooftop garden in all its golden beauty. The video went viral within hours, and even local news stations picked it up. They had done it. They were city famous. People in Maple Grove now knew the Maple Kids, the ones who had shown the world the hidden beauty of their city. But it was more than just the views and followers. That summer, Jaden, Zara, and Luis had learned about courage, friendship, and their city. They'd learned to take chances, listen to each other, and, maybe most importantly, to share the parts of themselves and their hometown that were special. They might not have known exactly who they were yet, but they'd taken their first steps together. As they looked out over the city from Luis's rooftop on their last night of summer, they knew they'd never forget the adventures they'd shared, or the feeling that, for a little while, they'd captured the heart of their city. The end.